How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today we're talking about why Bitcoin is greater than other assets. And keep in mind, take that with a grain of salt, right? I'm not saying that's better than all other assets all the time, but something massive just happened, which brings to the forefront or, puts focus on how great Bitcoin is. I want to explain that. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video. If you want to trade your Bitcoin or altcoins. If you want to trade altcoins, you can check out Margex underneath the video. You can get started in just a few minutes. You don't need a VPN. You don't need a KYC. All you need is an email, a password, check the terms and conditions, and you can start trading. This is a good time to be trading, in my opinion, getting ready before this next leg up that I think we'll have. And a lot of my positions are up. Actually, every single one is up. So if you want to check this out yourself, you can check out the link underneath the video. And I do have videos explaining different strategies as well to help amplify your returns. Now, a lot of the time with Bitcoin, we look at how well it performs or how well companies that hold it perform. Like MicroStrategy, there's been a lot on the Bitcoin strategy and how MicroStrategy is up 1,620% since they implemented the Bitcoin strategy, compared to NVIDIA up 1,100%. And then down the line, you can see some of the other companies. Now, another thing we look at is how finite this is. Bitcoin, there's only 5.87% remaining of the overall supply. This gets dwindled down by 0.1% every 4 days or so, every 4 or 5 days. Now, we consistently look at this stuff because these are some of the properties of Bitcoin. Another thing that is a massive property of Bitcoin is cold storage. And I think it's been obvious over the last few days why this is so valuable. Take a look at this. $1 trillion of prime Florida real estate needs to be repriced. How much are coastal properties worth in a world where insurers suddenly refuse to insure or jack up premiums 10x? Families that store the majority of their wealth in their homes are facing massive losses. Homes are not designed to store wealth long term. They're designed to be enjoyed and lived in. And yet homes are one of the most popular savings vehicles in the world. Bitcoin is designed to store value. But Bitcoin is intangible. You mean it can't be flooded by the ocean or blown apart by a tornado? And I can hold it for zero cost without paying property tax or 1% of its value in insurance each year? Sounds pretty great to me. A lot of people seem to have forgotten that cold stored Bitcoin is the king of all assets. But something tells me they'll be reminded soon. This is really interesting. Obviously, there have been a lot of hurricanes recently. A couple hurricanes, one on the East Coast, one down in Florida, and it's wiped out a lot of value. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they're just going through what happens when there's a lot of real estate just wiped out. And what happens? Well, either insurers leave or they jack up the prices because they need to cover losses, right? So what happens as more and more of these events occur? Premiums are jacked up, obviously, right? There's also other ways that you have to insure. So Floridians experience not just hurricane damage, but flood damage, hail, tornado, wildfire. So you might need flood insurance as well. This is really expensive. And if you've ever watched the show Yellowstone, you understand this. You can have kind of like your family's legacy in a home or ranch or something. But sometimes, unless you're making a ton of income, it's really hard to stay there for a long time because, first of all, the value is pushed up, which for a lot of us that want to move one day, or maybe our home values are still like a small percentage of our net worth, not the majority of our net worth, well, that can be a good thing. But for people that have everything tied up in their home, sometimes just the property taxes grow to be too large that you can't even pay them. So then you lose your home or you have to sell it. Now, I looked at some of the premiums for Florida. I think what I'm seeing online is actually lower than what they are in real life. When you think about it this way, maybe 40 years ago, we had incidences of natural disaster that maybe destroyed your home one in every 100 years. So you would have a 1% insurance premium, let's say. If that moves to every 30 years, you have to pay the price of your home over 30 years basically for insurance. It's just common sense. So you're paying maybe more like 3.3%. Now, I'm not sure that's necessarily what's happening in all places. If you're from Florida, let me know in the comment section how that works, like how expensive certain areas are for insurance. if anything is approaching that 2 or 3%. But just on its head, that makes a lot of sense. And that's what I've been hearing too from other people. It's getting extremely expensive there. Take a look at this. A single family Florida home, a $550,000 home with a 20% down payment and a 30-year mortgage at 6% in a newer gated residential community with a clubhouse, pool, and fitness center. The mortgage payment would be $2,640. Home insurance would be $250. HOA fee, $300. Real estate taxes, $458. Electric bill, $180. Water bill, $80. So let's just take out the electric bill and water bills. It would cost $3,700 a year to live in this home. And keep in mind, even after you paid off the mortgage, it would still cost about $1,000. I think it would actually move up more than that. I think it would be more than that. It would cost $1,000 plus whatever utilities to stay in the home. $1,000 a month. So that is where it's very difficult, first of all, to live in some places like this. Second of all, to put money in maybe second properties or vacation homes. I've looked at vacation homes too, like a second property that I could Airbnb out. First of all, more headaches, which Bitcoin doesn't have. Second of all, you're kind of taking a gamble, right? You're taking a gamble because in a place like this, or where you might want a second home, the weather is getting significantly worse to the fact that it is going to get more expensive to insure. Some of these insurance companies are talking about jacking up the rates 25%. I've heard some people say like doubling the rates, but they're possibly moving up the rates 25%. So instead of paying $5,000, you might pay $6,200. That might dig into your cash flow a lot over time. And actually, you can see here a chart of all the different weather climate disasters. It was like one a year. Sometimes there were none back in the 80s. Then it got to almost every year in the 2000s. Now it's going to be like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a year. This destroys a lot of real estate. And even if it's not destroyed, then the values of homes go up and then you're paying higher property taxes, right? So it can be very difficult trying to do this as a second home. Obviously, if this is your primary residence and you've lived there forever and you can afford it, whatever. But for a lot of people looking to store capital somewhere, it might not make sense. And it's not just Florida. There are places like in Texas that are getting extremely hot. It's extremely expensive to do certain things like cool down your Airbnb. You have renters that leave a door open, stuff like that. They're getting drunk and then they waste you $50 over an afternoon in AC. So there are more places like this that are having natural disasters and causing expenses that people aren't ready for. There are a few locations in the US that don't seem to have natural disasters that might actually, it sounds bad, but might actually benefit from global warming because they're maybe a little bit further up north. Global warming might actually make it more attractive for people to move there because there might be less snow or something like that, or just it's a little bit warmer in the winter. I'm not trying to get into politics or global warming or anything like that, but a lot of people try to store their money in these places. They get more expensive. They come with headaches. And then there's Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin because all you have to do is cold storage. You buy it, you copy and paste an address, you check to make sure that's gone there, and then you're done. That's it. You don't have any headaches. You don't have any repricing of insurance. There's nothing like that. And in a world where there's more and more money all the time, this is a scarce asset that, like I said, there is less of it all the time to be mined. There's more that's being lost every single day. How many Bitcoin do you think are lost a day? I'd say probably tens or hundreds, maybe more. So it gets harder and harder to get your hands on Bitcoin, even if the price doesn't go up sometimes. The fact is, it seems like every single day there's something that comes up that I think Bitcoin solves this. Bitcoin would be better than this. And like I said, this isn't a one-size-fits-all. There's some rental properties that just make a ton of sense. There are some investments that make a ton of sense even after these kinds of expenses. If you can leverage a home and you buy it at the right price, like you can do just as well as Bitcoin. People don't like to say it, but you buy a house for 20% down and it appreciates by 5 or 6% that year. Let's call it 6%. Well, you just made a 30% ROI return just on the appreciation. And then you might have cash flow, loan pay down, tax benefits, that kind of thing. So you can do just as well. People think that real estate investors are so risk off that they're like the most tangible investors out there. But the fact is they're using 5x leverage or 4x leverage on almost every investment that they make. And they're just getting essentially the price that the US dollar is being depreciated by each year times 5x. So, if there's asset inflation, home inflation of 5%, they're getting 25% or 20%, right, on their properties if they're levered up still. So they seem risk off because there's cash flow and there's something tangible, but really, I mean, they're leveraging, right? They're using leverage all the time, which gives them outsized returns. So again, people think that they're so risk off, but there are risks, right? And you put up a lot of capital. Now, I still invest in real estate, to be clear. I still invest in real estate because there are some deals that are just really good, especially when you do use that leverage and there's enough cash flow and you have enough set aside that you can deal with potential issues. I make sure to put them in areas I don't think will have some of these, hurricanes and natural disasters. Also, I want to move some of my capital into other industries and to diversify a bit. There are also tax incentives, but I still have a stack of Bitcoin there because it is lower maintenance. After I put it there, I don't have to do anything, right? Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Again, if you want to trade Bitcoin, there's a link underneath the video to Margex. I just thought this was interesting. Something that a lot of people don't think about, but it's going to be something that's very apparent and something that a lot of people will talk about in the future. And we didn't even get into the fact that there have been people that have talked about from a national defense perspective. If you are a country that has a lot of assets, a lot of stored wealth, it depends, or it matters where you store it, right? If you have a bunch of oil, maybe a country goes in there and tries to help you out and then, buy your oil for cheap or steal it or whatever, right? If you have a lot of gold, people can steal that. They can go to war with you. They can bomb you and stuff like that. But Bitcoin, they're not getting it. They're not getting it. Again, check out the links underneath the video. Really appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you're from Florida, let me know how much this affects you. Like, I've been trying to find some of the premiums and they seem too low to me. The insurance premiums seem too low for what I've been hearing from people. So let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.